What's up, guys? This is Brent with Western Equipment, and in this video I'm going to be telling you all about the John Deere S220. To start off, let's talk about model numbers and kind of where the S220 sits in the John Deere mower lineup. So what we're going to start here with is the S on our model number. Now the S is going to have two different series of mowers within it. So I like to call this letter here our class indicator. So we have the S100s and the S200s. And then as we move up in size and quality of mower, we move into the X class and the riding mowers. And then there's also the Z class of mowers, which is going to be the Z-Trax. So the S is going to be our class indicator. The 2 here is going to be our series indicator. So like I said, we have the S100s, we also have the S200s, and then once we move up into the X series, we're gonna have 300s, 500s, and 700s. Now, the back here, these last 2 numbers are going to be our identifier for one, the features that this mower is going to have, and then our last digit is going to indicate whether this model is a 2-wheel steer or a 4-wheel steer. So in these mowers, if this last digit is a 4, it's going to be a 4-wheel steer. If it's a 0, it's going to be a 2-wheel steer. Now the S220 is kind of an in-between model mower, and what I mean by that is it is going to be sort of in between the S100 series and the S240. For a long time, the S240 was the only mower in the 200 series, but now we have this 220 that's going to throw in some extra features and throw in some things that are different from the 100 series and also different from the 240 to kind of give you a good mix of the 2 series of mowers. Now, the 2 main and most noticeable differences between the S100 series making the jump up to the S220 is going to be the jump from engine size. So we're moving from a type of Briggs & Stratton engine in the 100 series and making an upgrade to the cyclonic engine that's also a Briggs & Stratton in the S220, which we'll go over more here in a minute and show you that difference. Now the other big difference is jumping from the edge cutting system in the 100 series to the XL Deep cutting system, the XL Deep decks in the S200 series, which again, we'll go over that more here in a minute. So we'll start underneath the hood here, show you that engine, also show you all the service points, and then just make our way around and hit every feature on this mower. So before we get under the hood, 2 things that I would point out. One is that you are gonna come with a front bumper that is standard on the S220, and 2 is gonna be just how easy it is to raise up that hood, very easy to get underneath and get to everything that we need to be able to service this machine. Now, if we look right on top here of the engine, what we're gonna see is a 22 horsepower John Deere engine, but this is actually going to be a Briggs & Stratton engine. So if we look right over here on the right-hand side of the engine, you are going to see that Briggs & Stratton sticker right there on the side. So now, also with this engine, you can tell here that it's very open and very easy to get to all of the different service points here. So we'll start over here on the left-hand side. First things that we're going to have is going to be our oil filter, which is going to be covered by a panel here, but also a very nice part to this machine. It's very easy just to pull these panels out of the way. So we have our oil filter right here. Then right in front of that, we will have our fuel filter. Moving right up and over just a little bit, we will have one spark plug here, and then of course we'll have another one over on the other side right in that corresponding spot. Moving up from that, we are going to have our fuel pump. This is going to be a nice feature to know about, so if you are having those fuel issues, it is very easy to change this. This is just a manual suction fuel pump here, so if you need to change those for any issues, very easy to get to. Now, right on top here is going to be our air filter housing. Now, a couple of things about this air filter housing. With this engine, like I said, it is an upgrade from the S100 series Briggs & Strattons. And reason being is this is going to be a 44J cyclonic engine. And a lot of that has to do with the airflow of this engine. It also has to do with the way this engine is spec'd out for higher torque, more power. But a big factor is right here at the air filter housing. So you'll notice before I take the top off even, that there are these there is the vents right here on the front of the air filter housing. Now what this is for is to allow those larger particles of dirt, dust, and debris to exit out of the filter housing before it actually hits the filter itself. So that is a very nice feature. Now, whenever we go to open up this filter housing, it simply has 2 hand twist locks. We can grab that, move that out of the way, and this opens up to that housing. So you can see here inside the housing where that debris can go. You are going to have a dust port right here on the side of this housing to allow that out. But like I said, that larger debris and stuff is going to make its way out and around this filter housing before it ever gets to our filter. Now, also while we're here at the filter housing, another really nice feature to this engine is that you are going to have 2 clean out ports right next to your air filter. That's going to take an 8mm socket and ratchet or an 8mm nut driver right here to take this screw loose. And then we can open up the side ports of this engine to be able to blow out any dirt and debris. As we can see the fins right there down in that we need to make sure and keep clean, and just to be able to keep the inside of our engine area cleaner. So very nice feature with this engine. We can simply close that back down, put our screw back in, and that is just going to be a great addition and a great service feature to this engine. Then to go back on, we're just going to set our housing back on, tighten this down, and we're good to go. Now moving over here to the right hand side, this is where we're going to have our oil fill and dipstick. So right here, very easy to get to. Then we're also going to have an oil drain hose on this S220. Now in the S100 series, a lot of these are just a tube that comes out of the side of the engine. It's not going to be as easy as this hose is here, that we can simply clamp down, remove, pull this to the side, and be able to drain this where we need to drain it. So very nice feature moving up to the S220 that you're getting. And then of course right here is going to be that other spark plug that we talked about before. And then also while we're underneath here, very easy to get to our battery. As you can see here, it's held in by this rubber strap right here, so very easy to get to our battery. And then one last thing while we're underneath here is that we need to keep in mind we do have a service interval chart right here on the hood whenever we open this up. So make sure to know that that's there. You can check that for your general service points right there underneath the hood. Now moving into the operator station, this is where we get a good mix of both worlds. So we'll start out here with the seat. We are going to get the high back 15-inch 2-piece seat that is going to have the breathable back right here in the back. So that's going to allow for water runoff or for you to get some extra air there at your back to make for a more comfortable ride. Underneath that seat, we are going to have the dual spring suspension here to add to that comfort of that ride. And then you're also going to get seat slide on this machine, and you're going to have 5.5 inches of slide all the way there from the front all the way to the back with multiple positions in between, which is going to allow this machine to fit multiple different operators. So now we'll go ahead and go over the operator station here. All the way to my left is going to be our height of cut selector. Now this is going to go from 4 inches down to 1 inch and have 1/4 inch increments in between. This is also going to be spring assisted. So very easy to drop this deck down, raise it up with that spring assisted deck. It is a very easy pull to be able to put this up and into transport mode or whatever cutting height you're going to be at. So don't worry if you're a little bit weak in the upper body, or maybe you have a little bit of mobility issues with your arms, this is still going to be very easy for you to be able to move this deck up and down. So now moving forward here, one thing that we like to point out is we do have these floor mats here on the fenders. These are going to be a plastic material with a rubberized finish there that are going to have these ports that go off to the side to help with pushing debris off of this machine, but also add a nice grip whenever you're on the tractor. Then right in front of that, we are going to have our brake pedal, which is going to correspond with this lever right up here on the dash. So right now we have this set and the lever is up. So if I want to take that parking brake off, I'm going to push in on the pedal, down on the lever, and that is going to release our parking brake. And to set that, I'm just going to push that in and raise up. Very easy to set that brake just like that. Now moving up here on the dash, we are going to have a throttle and choke lever. Now in a lot of the 100 series machines, you're all the way forward there is going to be your choke position. So this does have a dual handled separate choke here. So we are going to have a throttle with the choke. That choke is going to be on a spring return. So as you see, if I raise it up into choke, it will not stay in that position. So very nice feature there. Moving right below that, we are going to have our RIO button. Now this is our rear implement option button, which means this button allows us to mow in reverse. Now normally once we have this mower on, we have the blades engaged, we can only mow going forward. And this is going to be a safety feature to make sure that we don't back up and run over anything while on this mower. So to make sure that we're mindful of making sure that we are going backwards and being safe, we do have this button that we need to press one time and then start our rear descent, and that will allow those blades to stay on while we're mowing in reverse. Then once we go back forward, everything is good to go. Just anytime we need to go in reverse, we do have to initiate this button first before we start going in reverse. Now, since we're moved up into the S200 class, you would think that just standardly we would have the electric blade engagement, but this is one of those areas, like I said, where you're getting the best of both worlds. This is on the 220 going to have the manual blade engage. So to engage the blades, we will have a lever that we have to push forward to turn those blades on, and then we have to pull it back down to turn those blades off. And essentially what this lever is doing is tightening or loosening the belt underneath to kick that deck on or to kick it off. Now, once you move up to the S240, this is going to be a push button system, an electric PTO engagement. And also when you jump down a step to the S180, S170, S160, 150, 140, 130, these are all going to be electric PTOs as well. But on the S220, you are going to have that manual engagement here on this mower. Now to the right of that, we are going to have our key switch that is going to have a lights position, and then our run position, and of course our start position. And then to the right of that, we are going to have cruise control. So what we can do is once we're going along here, we have the speed chosen that we want. We have that pedal pressed in where we want it. We can raise up on our cruise control lever, and this will actually lock this mower into place just like it would on your car. So if you're making those long passes, those long circles, you will be able to lock this into place to be able to have that cruise control function. Now down to my right, we are going to have the twin touch pedal system. So this is a hydrostatic transmission. Once we choose our speed here on our accelerator, then we have a forward and reverse pedal that we're going to push to go back and forth. Very easy, very simple, labeled out here. And then over to my right, we are going to have a covered storage compartment here, and that usually is going to have our spare key in it, like we have here. So we will have that spare key storage compartment and then also a cup holder. Now, last but not least is going to be our fuel gauge and information panel. That is going to be right between our feet here. So you'll notice we have a bunch of information right here in this middle panel. Warning labels, danger labels, but then also all the information of what your controls do, how to start and run your machine, so on and so forth. And then our fuel gauge is going to be a manual gauge that is a float gauge right here underneath our seat, so we can easily look down between our legs and underneath the seat here to see what our fuel level is. So now here at the rear of the mower, we'll go ahead and flip this seat back up here. This is where we're going to have our fuel opening. So right here underneath the seat, very easily covered up, but also with a nice opening here. So if you have any spillage, it's not going to stay on your fender pan here. So if we open up this lid, this is going to be a tethered lid so that we don't lose it. It is going to have a 1 3/4 inch opening here and a fuel capacity of 2.4 gallons. Now, generally on these mowers, what we see is about 1 gallon an hour, depending on the cutting conditions. So you're at least guaranteed 2.5 hours. I would say generally guaranteed 2.5 hours. Like I said, this depends on cutting conditions, if not more, with a single tank of fuel on this mower. Now also here at the rear, we are going to have the cargo mount system. Now what this is used for is certain attachments. So if we're going to be putting on such things as a canopy or a bagger, so on and so forth, these are very important here for those different types of attachments. Now moving on down within the frame of the back of this machine, you're also going to see these slots here in the frame. These are also going to have to do with attachability. A lot of the times the attachments that are using the cargo mount system are also going to be using these slots. You are going to have a rear hitch here at the back. Now these mowers are rated for a total towing capacity of 500 pounds. So you have to consider that that means the weight of the machine or the equipment that you're putting on the back, plus any liquid or dry material that may be going into that attachment, but a full towing capacity of 500 pounds here at the rear. Then we're also going to have our transmission disengage lever here. So what this is for is if we get in those situations where we happen to have to push this mower, maybe it dies, we can't get it to start, we run out of fuel, whatever those things are, we can unlock this rear transaxle by pulling this lever out. Then we can release our parking brake, making this machine very easy to push. And then once we push it back in, that is going to engage that transaxle. Now we want to make sure that we're not actually starting up the mower with that rod pulled out, as that does make it hard on the transaxle. So we only want to use this if we know for sure that the mower is not going to start and that we're in those positions where we do have to push the mower. Now, like we've talked about this mower being kind of in between the best of both worlds of the 100s and the 200 series, another thing that will differ here is whenever we get to the upper end of the S100s, we have the K46 transaxle underneath here. And then once we get to the S240, we also have that K46. And then in the lower end of the 100 series, we have the TLT 200s, which is also going to be the same here on the S220. We are going to have the TLT 200 transaxle here. Now we're still going to have the same traveling speed, top speed of 5.5 mile an hour. So you are still going to have that travel speed. You just don't have as heavy duty of a transaxle on the S220 as you would find at the upper end of the S100s and in the S240. Next, let's talk about the Mower Deck. Now this is going to be an upgrade from the S100 series when we bump into the S200 series, as whether you're in the S220 or the S240, you are going to move up to the Excel deep decks rather than the edge cutting system. Now, the big difference between those two decks is that, for one, the XL deeps are going to be a thicker material. So for instance, here we have a 42-inch XL deep. This is going to be 12 gauge steel. If we were at a 42-inch on the edge cutting system, that's going to be 13 gauge steel. So you are going to have thicker material on the XL deep. Now the other thing is there in the name. This is going to be a particularly deep deck. This is going to be almost 5 inches deep from the bottom to the top here, which is going to allow for more material processing. But the big thing about that is that it stays 5 inches deep all the way from the front to the rear. If you notice on a lot of edge cutting systems, if you look at a 100 series, you'll see that they are deeper in the front and then they skinny up as we get to the rear. But with the XL deep, they stay 5 inches deep all the way across and all the way back and forth on the deck here, which is going to allow for better material processing whenever we're using a mulch system or a bagging system. Now, that is another upside here to the XL Deep, is whenever we're talking about the mulching system, now you can have mulch control instead of either a mulch plug or a hard mount mulch kit underneath. We can move to the mulch control system, which allows you to have a lever over on the side of the deck to open up or close your deck to allow clippings to either be dispersed or mulched underneath. And with the design of the XL Deep deck, you're able to process more material better and more efficiently. So features on the deck itself, for one, we're going to have the washout port here over on the side. So this is going to be where we can hook our water hose up, lower this deck all the way down on a concrete or asphalt surface, turn that water on, kick the blades on, and allow this machine to clean underneath. We're also going to have our flip up spindle cover over here on the side, covering up our spindle and belt here. Now this is going to be a greasable spindle, so if we look right underneath here on the spindle, we will see that grease zerk. It's going to be the same way on the other side. We are going to have a greasable spindle over there as well. Now we're also going to have adjustable anti-scalping wheels here that are going to give us the depths here on the side to know where we need to set these wheels for what height we're cutting at. So if we're cutting from that 1 to 1.5, we're going to have these in the top position. We're going to have one of these on each side of the deck, and we need to make sure that whenever we're changing these, we're changing both. So the top position here is 1 to 1.5. The second position is 1.5 to 2. Third position is 2 to 3. And then our lowest position is going to be from 3 to 4 inches. So depending on what height you normally cut at is dependent on where we need to have our anti-scalping wheels. Now also over on the right hand side, we are going to have our discharge chute, and also with the XL deep deck, you are going to have a larger discharge chute with a larger opening. For one, since this deck is 5 inches deep all the way around, it is going to have that 5-inch opening all the way across, but it's also got a wider opening than what we would see on our typical edge deck in the S100 series. So last but not least here, let's talk a little bit about specs and warranty. So as far as specs go here, let's talk dimensions. The height of this mower is going to be 45 inches. We're going to have a total length of 75 inches from the front of the bumper to the rear. We're going to have a total width with the deck on and the chute all the way folded out of 50 inches. And then if we raise that chute up, we can gain just about an inch down to 49 inches, as that chute, when it comes up, does not have much difference in whether it's folded up or folded out, but you gain about an inch if you raise that up. And then weight wise, we're looking at 481 pounds on this mower, so very light, very easy, going to be nice and easy on that yard. Now another improvement, jumping up into this 200 class. In the S100s, you're going to have a 2-year, 120-hour bumper-to-bumper warranty, but moving up to the S220 and S240s into that 200 series, now we're looking at a 3-year, 200-hour warranty. So quite a bit of a jump there. The extra year plus the extra 80 hours there on the warranty can be a big deal. So very nice there. Like we already talked about, 2.4 gallons of fuel capacity. You're going to have an oil capacity of right at 2 quarts. You saw right where all of those features are. Very easy to service. You're going to have that top travel speed of 5.5 miles an hour. And overall, guys, just a great in-between machine, in between that 100 series and the S240. So guys, I hope this video helped you out. I hope you liked this video, and if you did, we just ask that you would hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Also guys, if you have any parts needs for any of your John Deere equipment, make sure to go check us out at 247parts.com. And as always guys, thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. Hey guys, make sure to check out this cool video and this one. Buy your parts right up here and subscribe right here.